Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Business. I'm Stephen Meadows. Joining me today is a longtime colleague of mine. We've actually known each other for quite some time, Roger Sargent, and he is a team leader, with Keller Williams in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, my old stomping grounds. Many of you know I used to work and live in the Nashville area, which is where I met Roger. And we've actually worked with each other in several different capacities. We've been colleagues, never worked really directly with one another, but crossed our paths many times. So Roger's joining me today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about agent productivity. But I want to give Roger a few moments to introduce himself, because I'm sure he can do it better than I can. So Roger, take it away.
Stephen, thank you for having me on here with you today. And yeah, you're right. Our paths have crossed many times through the years, and there's a lot of parallels between your career and mine, going back to our days in the home warranty space. And I know that we have a lot of mutual friends in that regard, as well as real estate. And we worked together at Coldwell Banker for a number of years. And yeah, so it's good to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I should say, for many of those of you who know how brand loyal I am, yes, I realize I am blue, he is red, but today we are purple. We're not here to talk about our respective brands. We are here to talk about agents, because Roger and I share a passion for helping agents and developing their careers. And that's what we want to talk about. So we're just going to dive right in, and we've got some really interesting topics. And so I'm looking forward to hearing Roger's take on this. So the first thing I want to talk about is what obstacles are you seeing that new agents are having to face and when they get into this market?
One of the things that I see most often where agents come into the business and struggle, I think in many cases, it's the stuff that they don't get in real estate school. When a new agent comes into the business, the one thing they never teach them about is lead generation. And it's probably the most important thing to their survival during those first, few months and even the first few years. And the lead generation that I'm talking about is something they got to learn to do, but it is something that the pre-licensed courses spend zero time dedicated toward.
No, I agree. I mean, I can tell you how many square feet are an acre and what the fine is for a super fund violation or whatever, something ridiculous that I'll never use. But, when I got into the business, I didn't know a thing. I didn't know how to get business. So what advice would you give a brand new agent getting into the business for lead gen? So I come to you, I'm brand new. Roger, how do I get my first deal?
And one of the things that I always do is I ask a lot of questions. When I'm looking at hiring an agent, I ask a lot of questions to determine, what their goals are, what their ambitions are. And in so many cases, they're different. I also want to make sure that the expectations are aligned with what is typically realistic in the business. And I ask them, have you thought about where your first transaction is going to come from? And the most common mistake that I see agents make, and I know we're going to go here in a few minutes talking about, mistakes of an agent will make, when they misunderstand just how difficult the lead generation part is. Or actually, it's not difficult. If you really get down to it, it's not difficult, but it's the most overlooked.
So when we talk lead gen, I think a big question that a lot of agents have is what's a good mix? So I run a fairly robust lead gen program in my company. And, I've got agents that are very cognizant of how much business is coming from outside of their own efforts. And they're cautious of it. They don't want too much reliance on company generated business. They want to make sure that they're doing their own thing. So what would you say with all the different, mixes out there? Referral, sphere of influence, company generated leads, relocation, type things. What's a good mix? I don't have to get to necessarily granular on the percentages, but like realistically, what should I as a newer agent or any agent really kind of strive for a good solid business?
Well, there are a lot of different pillars of lead generation, from just general prospecting to your sphere of influence, open houses, internet leads. You've got all these different things. I always encourage my agents, find what you enjoy doing, then find what you're good at. Hopefully there's some overlap there, and do a lot of that. And when they're doing the activity will typically generate some results. So as a brand new agent, we know they're going to take a deal wherever they can find it. How are they looking to build their business? Well, that's a similar discussion to an experienced agent, in proportioning the number of listings they take with the number of buyers that they're generating. We know that, the old expression, you got to list the last. Well, experience tells us the more listings you've got leverage to generate more business from that. So I think finding what works, what they enjoy, it makes the whole business more enjoyable for them early on. Is just find a niche and run with it, and you can develop more of it later.
Yeah, absolutely. I see my agents kind of shooting for sort of 30-ish%. They try to make about a third of their business, or no more than a third, company generated. But sometimes you don't have a choice. I mean, I have an agent who moved to our area, no sphere, not a single friend in the whole town, and she has carved a great business out of company lead gen. But she's one of my ones that's very acutely aware of, I'm trying to generate my own. So I think that's the right way of doing it, is you springboard, use lead gen as kind of that base foundation. It kind of pays the bills as you go, because sometimes farming takes a while. I mean, it's like real farming. For those of you who heard my episode with Sean Carpenter, we talked about planting seeds and things like that. It takes a while to reap the benefits from farming. So,
well, and that's like, in Ninja, in Ninja selling, we're taught that, there are two different ways to get business. One, you're a hunter. The other, you're a farmer. If you're going to be a farmer, be prepared to wait on your crop to grow. In the meantime, you better go hunt if you want to eat.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Kind of the same thing in real estate. And I've never really put percentages on it per se. I think most agents would tell you over time they would like to build a referral-based business, but even then, that requires cultivation.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Get those leads and a commitment to staying in touch with people. So, yeah.
You bring up an interesting point. So that was one of the things I learned probably a little too late. So my career kind of had phases. So I had my initial career that I did in Michigan, and then I moved to Tennessee, and then I actually learned what I should have done back in Michigan. And it was about the referral base. And, I was my hometown, everybody knew me. I really could have done such a better job farming that referral base. And one of the CRS classes I took, it was Frank Serio who taught it. And he went on to be a president of CRS a couple years later, a certified residential specialist for those of you who are new. Now it's called Residential Real Estate Council or something. I'm a member. I can't even remember what it's called. I just rejoined. RRC, I remember that. So he said, you can spend money on marketing to try to get new business, or you can take a fraction of that money and you put it into referrals and pumping your sphere of influence, because it's so much cheaper to give somebody something that's already done business with you, that knows you, likes you, and trusts you, and asking them for a referral than it is to try to generate a brand new piece of business. And I'm like, duh. It was like a huge, of course, by that time I had moved to a place where I didn't know anybody. So it was useless information for me for that point in my career, but I really could see where it would have helped. And it has helped since, but circling back around. So let's go off of new agents and go into experienced agents. A lot of agents tend to get in ruts, especially when we see market shifts. So, someone who's kind of always, never really had to compete. Let's say it's an agent who's never really had to compete to get listings. They just get them. Well, now, I don't know about your market, but our market, it's a competition, and listings are a lot harder to get because sellers could just walk out their door and go, I want to sell my house. And they got 20 offers. So how can an agent sort of shift their business? And what would you say to an agent if they said, Roger, I'm stuck, I'm in a rut, I need to do something to change up how I do my business? What advice would you give them?
Well, we've always heard, what we focus on expands. And if we're focused on, well, if we don't have focus, we're going to continue to get what we've always gotten because we're just going to keep doing it the same way. So if you want to shift in your business, there has to be focus in what you're shifting to. For listings, and I always tell new agents or experienced agents, either one, that are looking to grow, it's easier to grow your business with listings than buyers because we know where homes for sale are, or well, they may not be for sale yet, but we know where the prospective properties for sale are. We can go there, we can find them. Buyers aren't walking up and down the street with a sign on their head when I'm looking to buy, I'm looking to buy. So when it comes to efficiency of marketing or sales and being in front of the right people, where do you go? I'd rather go to a neighborhood. I'd rather go to events and talk to people that are potentially sellers, and you will stumble across some buyers, but be relevant and be there with the sellers in their market, meet them where they are.
So for
example, an open house. There's more to doing an open house than just sticking a sign in the yard on Sunday and hoping people show up. There's a golden opportunity to market your services to that neighborhood leading up to that open house to uncover your next listing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't take the time to do it. So in so many cases.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of that comes down to, I hate to use the L word, but they're lazy. I mean, a lot of agents are just lazy, complacent, whatever you want to call it. They just don't take the time, like you said.
I can always count on you to call it like it is, Stephen.
Well, I don't have any reason to pull punches at this point. I've been doing this way too long. In fact, 20 years in August. I can't believe it. It's crazy. So when it comes to developing an agent, so I'm a big education person. I'm a big believer in education, but I'm also the first one to tell you that you can overdo it. You can be one of those agents that, like I was, where my first 2 or 3 years in the business, I was racking up designations, and I was at every class, I was at every association meeting, I was Realtor of the Year because I literally just got the most points. I did the most
training
things.
track.
Yeah, I did the most things and got the prize, which I'm still proud of it. Don't get me wrong. But so what would you say would be a good, focused, productive, very valuable tool for an agent to learn, or a class for them to take, or something? What would you say?
Whatever the class is, I suggest that it be focused on building your business. Not necessarily something as a new agent, focus on skills, presentation skills, how to do a listing presentation, how to do a buyer consultation, how to effectively work with buyers, multiple buyers, and market listings. As a more seasoned agent, maybe you're working more on how to build your business bigger and build it to scale. But early on, I would focus on training that helps me build my business now. It doesn't have to be for a designation. Now, if you can find something good that has a designation attached, fine, run with it. But a minute ago I referenced the training track. That's where all you're doing is training. I mean, there's only so many times you can read through the purchase and sell agreement. Eventually, you got to go practice with somebody live.
Exactly. I was just on a training this afternoon, and I said, we were talking about technology and how technology plays a role in the real estate industry, and I said, no amount of technology is going to replace skill. You can have the greatest tech ever, but if you're always behind your phone screen or behind your computer screen, you're never out there meeting the customer and creating that experience for them, I don't still see how you're going to be successful. You've got to eventually get out, unless that's your role, unless you're on like a team and that's your role on the team, that's fine. But as far as like a single agent, you can't rely on technology to do the job for you. some
No.
point, your skill has to come to the surface. You've got to be the one that's out there making it happen. The technology is there to make your life easier, to help you be more efficient, but not to do the job for you. And I think that's a mistake.
If it were so easy just to do every transaction through Zillow, and I'm going to say this, watch what you wish for, talk about, Zillow would have already displaced us.
Yeah.
It's not about technology. They buy houses from people. So eventually, while you can use technology to stay in touch and stay engaged with people, eventually you've got to go out there and show them a product, the house, and you've got to help them write the offer. And that requires face-to-face interaction at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And
you can't do it from behind a computer forever.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if I had to give some advice on training, I would 100% agree with you. Let it be something business building, but I would also say focus on something that's interpersonal as well. Like even if it's making phone calls, like here's some ways to interact with people so you feel comfortable making the phone call, knocking on the door. I think that's the problem is I don't know if it's a generational thing. I sound old when I say that, but it's like, I noticed the younger agents have a harder time interacting face-to-face, person-to-person, face-to-face, voice-to-voice. If it's not electronic, they don't really know how to do it. And it's like, you want me to call someone? What do I say? Like, what if they ask me a question? You answer it. And then knocking on a door is almost unheard of. Why would I ever do that? Especially in a pandemic. We've talked about this a lot. People are like, but COVID, we can't knock on doors. Why not? Knock on the door, step back, you got a mask or whatever. People are, I won't say dying for it. People are desperate to have human contact. We're finding that I've got an agent who went out knocking on doors for 3 or 4 days, and she got 2 listings. And she said the people were just so thrilled to have someone to talk to. They were more than happy to have a conversation with me.
And you mentioned something right there. There's more than just a script to what to say when you're either on the phone or especially going door to door. There's more technique than just what to say. You got to know how to carry yourself. And you're exactly right. Pandemic or not, when you knock on someone's door, especially when they don't know you, courtesy is to get the heck off the porch and let them talk to you, make them comfortable. Don't be standing there in their face when they open the door, especially in a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, if you want to be effective in, knocking on doors around an open house, come off their steps and let them come into their comfort zone, open the door and come talk to you. And if they don't want to, that's fine.
Right. Yeah.
But that's courtesy.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's just, I feel like interpersonal skills are something that need to be taught as a regular thing and this is a people to people business. We're essentially just networkers. We need those skills. And I think, unfortunately, that's not what we learn in real estate school. And, so that's where companies like ours are skilled at that. We will help build those, build in those skills and build that business up and teach you how to actually do it instead of just,
I always tell our agents, we are not in the business of selling houses. Houses are a byproduct of what we do. We are in the business of delivering a process. We are there helping them buy a house. Let's face it, they can buy a house without us for sale by owner, right? Opening your door and going, hey, my house is for sale. They'll get multiple offers. We are there to help them with a process. And the better we can communicate that process, the better our value is to the consumer. And if you can't articulate that value and that process very well, maybe that should be part of your early on training.
Yeah, 100%. I've actually done a short snippet video on product versus process sales. So we may have to put a pin in that topic and we may have to talk about this later. So I'm a big fan of drawing the comparison between the two because I've seen it happen where an agent is stuck on the product side of it. And it's like, you're not selling a side of beef, you're selling a house, but you're selling a process of buying a house. So I love that.
For your agents, we weren't going to talk about brands, but for your agents, Coldwell Banker, I know firsthand, they've got a great value proposition building tool that's one of my passion points is, I want agents to be able to articulate what they offer And I know that your brand offers a great tool to help a new agent kind of formulate that value proposition and what's going to differentiate them from any other agent on the street. And, of course, my agents, I've got ways that I coach them on that as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to reach out to you, because I know personally you're very passionate about development, but I know as a brand, Keller Williams is also very much into the training of the agents. So since you gave me a plug, I'll give you a plug. So no, that's what I love about the real estate business. There's room for everybody and we all do things differently, but in the end, we're all in this together. We're all here to serve the consumer. And
there are a lot of good people in our business. It's not just our brand or your brand. There are a lot of good people. There's a lot of good people in the world, but especially in the real estate world, there are a lot of good quality people that I think you and I are both blessed over our time in the business to have gotten to know. And, I'm privileged to know you, Steve.
Well, I completely agree with you on that. Ditto, back at you. So, well, we're going to wrap up, but this was awesome. Hopefully the first of several times we're going to get to hear from Roger. I really enjoyed our interaction today, and I think that we've uncovered a few other topics we could talk about later. So I'm going to put your email on the screen for those of you who watch the video. For those of you listening to the podcast, it's going to be in the notes. If you're ever looking for a referral opportunity or you want to do some business in the Mount Juliet market, you could do a lot worse than calling Roger. So I'm going to make sure that they have your email address. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and go out there and make amazing choices. I had to wake my mouse up. Hey, one more thing before you go. I just wanted to tell you really quickly about an amazing service that I think you'll love. If you're in real estate and you are tired of trying to figure out social media content, I have got the thing for you. I helped a friend of mine develop a company called Gnome Marketing Group, and they offer Facebook page management for an incredibly low price. So basically how it works is you sign up, you make them an editor on your business page, and they will post 12 different posts per week. So it's 2 per weekday, 1 on the weekend each day for you. You don't have to do anything. They have hashtags and everything. It's really great. And it's incredibly cheap. If you go to knowthegnome.com/coupon, you can sign up with my coupon code Steven45 and get it for $45 a month. That's incredibly cheap for someone to do all your social media posting for you on your business page. Again, that's knowthegnome, knowthegnome.com/coupon and use my coupon code Steven45, STEPHEN 45, $45 a month. It's $30 off. It's an incredible price. I hope you take advantage of it. It's an amazing service. Have a great one.